Madam Secretary, please do the roll call.
Thank you. Let me turn my video on. And I was about 15 seconds behind you. I apologize. Here we go. Richard Maston,
Here.
Russell Webb,
Here.
Rachel Anger is here. Kathy Calhoun,
Present.
Dorianne Nazen,
Here.
Vicki Jensen. Is Vicki on? Carissa Altschul.
I'm promoting her.
here.
I'm sorry, Eileen, are you promoting Vicki? Is that what you were saying?
Yes. She's
Okay.
in there. I think she's in now.
All right, Vicki, can you acknowledge that you're present?
I'm here.
Thank you. John Kalila,
I'm here.
Howard Webster,
Here.
Janet Moyer,
Wait, I see her in the audience. She's
Okay.
just Janet.
oh, wait a second. While we're waiting for our attendees, I just want to confirm that all board members have confirmed that they're abiding by the board member code of ethics and confidentiality agreement, which we all signed and avowed to at the June board meeting. So that has been done. We're going to do that for each meeting. And is Janet available yet?
I'm here.
Oh, thank you. Kenny Curley is not on the call yet.
I see him, Rachel.
Okay,
Here.
thank you. Aki Tamura,
Here.
thank you. I'm noting that she's attending remotely. Pam Delabar,
Here.
Marilee Griswold. I'll circle back for Marilee. Polly Hootenimi,
I'm here.
Carol Krasnowski.
Here.
Also present is Ed Raymond,
Here.
Eileen Tartaglia,
Here.
James Simbro.
Here.
I'm acknowledging that Ann Mathis and Daryl Newkirk are absent. If I am wrong about that, would you please so state, Ann or Daryl? So I'm circling back for Marilee Griswold. Okay,
She's-
Marilee's here, Rachel.
She's logged in, but
Marilee, can you confirm you're here? Say yes, or I'm here.
there she is. She's on mute.
Marilee, can you hear me?
Her audio's not working.
Yeah.
alrighty, we will acknowledge that we see her in the attendance box. So everyone is present on the present list. So I'll turn it back to you, Mr. President.
Hey, thank you, Rachel. Welcome, everyone, to the August 6, 2024 CFA Executive Board meeting. The first order of business is to approve the orders of the day. Does anyone have any changes or additions? Kenny?
I saw Alan Raymond on earlier. Did you acknowledge him? Rachel?
He should not be acknowledged. He's not a panelist.
Okay.
Hey, are there any additions or changes to the orders of the day? May I have a motion to accept the orders of the day? Kenny, is that you? You're on mute?
Can I make a motion?
Thank you. Rachel, are you seconding?
I'm seconding that motion.
Okay. Any further discussion? Dorian?
I'm sorry, I'm still figuring this out. I'm putting my hand back down.
Okay. Any objections to the orders of the day? Kenny, I assume you have no objections? Okay,
No objections.
thank you. Seeing no objection. The orders of the day are approved unanimously. Thank you. Moving on, ratification of online motions, Rachel.
Thank you. I'd like to make a motion that we ratify motions number 1, 2, and 4 through 7. I'd also like a side note that the discussion for number 3 should not be appearing on the screen. That is an executive session.
Okay. Kenny, you have your hand up? Okay, and Aline, you removed number 3, correct?
Yeah, yes, I'm working on that now, sorry.
Okay, and I need a second on Rachel's motion.
Any seconds?
Thank you, Kenny. Any further discussion? Any objection? Seeing no objection, motion passes unanimously.
Thank you for the support.
Rachel, thank you. Is Vicky Nye with us?
Yeah.
I am.
Hi, Vicky, welcome to the meeting.
Hi, Rich. Thank you very much.
Okay, before you begin, I want to confirm Russell has a standing motion on all action items, which are motions from the judging program. Russell, do you confirm?
I confirm.
Rachel, are you a standing second?
I am a standing second.
Thank you. Rachel, did you have a question or a comment?
No, I was just raising my hand to make a standing second, as
Okay.
we're supposed to.
Yep. It is helpful when the hands are raised because then it's easier if I call on the hands instead of try to figure out who's calling out. Okay, Vicky, please take us through the judging program. Please do not read through the entire report. Hit the highlights and let's get to the motion.
I will not. On immediate past committee activities, we had the judges workshop at Coralville, Iowa during the annual. We had 52 attendees and 6 guests. We are going to repeat this workshop for those that could not make it to the annual. It will be on Zoom on Saturday, August 10th. Teresa Sweeney researched and sourced new judges pins. They seem to be very well received from the judges that were honored for their service awards at the annual. And at the recommendation of at the last board meeting, led by Daryl at the time, and it seemed like it was fairly well received, I have put together a motion for the associate judges who have a good deal of judging under their belt to give them some credit for that as they moved through the program. Current happenings of the committee, the Breed Awareness School that's going to be held in Cleveland in October associated with the International Show. The registrations are up and available online. I believe we have 5 registrations so far. Barbara Yeager has taken care of announcing it on various social media places. So we hope that that is very well attended. Again, the Zoom workshop. I also did some research and worked with Ed Raymond and also one of our associate judges, Agnes Sun, to provide our judges with information on obtaining their M visas, those judges that live in the United States, where we must have a letter of invitation from a company and also the CFA invitation. Many judges obtained their first 10-year visa back in 2015, so that is going to be something that is coming up. So I tried to provide them with as much information and get everything lined up so that they could be obtaining the letters that they need. Ed has been terrific working with him and getting the edited letters, so thank you very much, Ed. moving on to the rule change that I spoke of. That is what is presented here. I actually had the cooperation and lots of input and work from Jackie Bennett, the president of the JA, to come up with these levels of judging and what kind of accommodation or additional less color classes they need to do. Flat out, our judging program rules say that we have absolute minimums that we can't tinker with. However, if we do put it in the judging program rules, that means that is what that minimum is for the associate judges. As you see that it's 0 to 200 cats judged in the grid, less than 10 shows total and less than 6 shows, there is no lessening of requirements. It's still 3 supervised and 3 solo. Moving up the numbers, 200 to 400 cats, 10 to 15 shows. And some of these judges have been judging since 2020. So some of the judges have judged 50 shows and some have judged 1 or 2. So there's a big disparity. So that's why we wanted to actually put a grid in here. And also it's important that they've had recent experience. So if they've had more than 6 shows in the last 12 months, we've removed the 1 color class that we will be allowed to recommend them at from the supervised, because that's where they've already moved past that with the way that they handle cats and so forth. We still want them to do the solos. So we've removed the number from actually the supervised. And then over 400 cats judged, 15 current, total number of assignments is over 15 and 8 in the last year. Now keep in mind, this is the level for which the judging program committee can recommend someone to advance through the regular judging program once they've been an associate judge. The other requirements still hold true. They have to handle 200 cats. They also have to have error-free paperwork, and we're hoping that with their experience, that this has helped them meet those requirements. So this accommodation is for the judging program to be able to recommend to the board and for the board to be able to approve it so that we're lined up with all the other remaining rules that are in place. But again, they still have to judge the 200 cat or handle 200 cats and error-free paperwork.
Okay, Pam?
Vicky, on the handling of 200 cats, has that become a requirement for trainees, or
Always has.
I thought that the requirement was based on sessions, not on number of cats handled, and it was only for apprentice.
No. It is on both. For trainees, it's minimum of 6 sessions, 200 cats. For apprentices, it's 300 cats and a minimum of 6 sessions. The number of cat requirements drops after that. But the number of sessions goes up to 8 when they go into approval pending.
Okay, thanks for clarifying that. My other question is, didn't we have a rather long discussion on error-free and what we should be falling on our sword over, and those things that are just no big deal? Where we were seeing people having, they might have put a cat's number below the line instead of above the line, and they ended up having to do a whole new class in a whole new country when they were doing their training. I still am concerned about totally error-free. I think that we still should have some latitude with the training judge and
How do you apply fairness to that? I've never seen us I've never even seen somebody putting above the line versus below the line. Us getting all over their case for that, or I've never seen anybody doing that. But error-free is very important. If you'll talk to the score of CFA, when we don't have a breed when written in on the right line, or if it's written on second best of breed and the best of breed is missing, or they don't know how to do a transfer, it's an issue. There's all sorts of training materials out there. They get coached for this. They have 2 days to review their paperwork afterwards. And our rule actually says error-free. It doesn't say major errors or minimal errors, and I wouldn't know where to draw the line. And so we've had some unfairness in the past with one person getting theirs waived and another person having to redo it. And so going into this, they all receive a welcome letter saying it must be error-free, and you have 2 days. You have to be the clerk and the judge, and you have 2 days after the show to review it. Now, I don't know if they're having spouses or someone else review it, and at this point, I don't go and police that. But these people are supposed to be accomplished clerks, and especially the associate judges who have all these numbers under their belt. Many of them have sent their shows in to either Liz Watson or myself, and I've reviewed them and given them feedback on what's acceptable, what's not, and quoted the rule. And Wendy Height does the same thing for me. So they're well taught, and I don't want to really take down the requirement or try to set up what's an important mistake and what's a not important mistake.
I bring this up because of the length of the discussion that we had over this at the board meeting.
Okay, Rachel.
Thank you. I agree, Pam, this should be discussed, but I think this is a separate issue. And for clarity, we're cutting the meeting off at midnight so that we can get as much business done as possible. Can the judging program please bring something back at the next meeting specific to Pam's request?
Okay, that's a call out to the judging program committee. Let's do that at the next meeting. Let's get back to the action item. Is there any further discussion on the specific action item that's in front of you? Are there any objections? Okay, seeing no objection, that motion passes unanimously. Okay, Vicky, continue.
Thank you. Unfortunately, we've had some very sad events that have occurred. We've lost multiple esteemed judges, and I've got one more that, of course, you've probably all seen on various social media outlets and emails that I'll be reporting the next time. We lost Kitty Angel, retired Judge Emeritus Judge Wayne Harding, again, retired Judge Emeritus Judge, and most recently, Willa Hawk, retired Judge Emeritus Judge. Moving on, applications. We do have 2 applications for specialty applications that were received in time for the deadline to be considered at the October board meeting. Both applications have been vetted by myself and the application administrator. At this point, they are complete. And we have 1 advancement to consider during the closed session. And again, the Breed Awareness School, it's all ready to go. The instructors, Vicki, Nancy Dodds, Ann Mathis, Kathy Black, and Barbara Yeager. And we've also got 32 video clips so far, so we're almost complete with that. The guest judging program, we've had a lot of activity. I've actually changed the title of this to not just guest judging, but guest judging and present seminars. I think the board likes to know which one of our judges who are representing as an ambassador doing things like seminars around the world. And so these have been reported all this time, and I just changed the title of this. Our judges are appreciated and respected all over the world, and they're asked to do these seminars. I think that's a big feather in our hats. Guest judges, clubs are requesting guest judging. Europe is becoming more active. We've got a new show or a revitalized show from Kiev that's happening. They're using some guest judges. And so this list is growing a bit. Of course, the guest judging by season, this has just started again. Because I keep track of this, they're limited to 5 shows per year if they're not a tier 1 or approved guest judge, and 10 shows a year if they are an approved guest judge. So these are not just from June 1st to now, but these are judges that we've approved to judge shows within the 24-25 show season.
Okay, Vicky, before you continue, I want to call on Kathy. She may have a question.
I do. I have a question about BAOS.
Yes.
It was mentioned at the very last sentence, well, next to the last sentence, that you're planning for a spring 2025 BAOS in Japan.
Yes,
When you-
we've, sorry, I'll let you finish. I apologize.
Okay. So my question is, if this is to occur before the end of this fiscal year, is this in your budget?
This will just be the second BAOS within tell me when the fiscal year runs.
It's the end of the show season, so that's
So
April
show
30th.
seasons. So we
It's the
will
same as
just
the
have,
show season.
okay, lines up with the show season. Yes,
Mhm.
I believe it will be. This will just be 2 BAOSs within the year. Though I've never received any sort of detailed information about the cost of rooms at any of these BAOSs, and that would be helpful for me to try and create the budget if I had that information. But Central Office books the rooms for us at the international show, and also they book the rooms and all the associated expenses for the judges workshop. So in order to come up with an accurate budget for you, I would need that information. I'm just guessing that.
Any of those questions can be
Yes.
answered through the liaison to me when you're preparing your budget. Any of those questions.
Okay, and the liaison
Okay.
is
Howard, right?
Kathy?
Isn't Howard the late?
It wouldn't have been Howard when this year's budget was created.
Oh, I'm sorry, Russell.
Right.
Russell's
So,
the liaison for
yes.
the judging program.
So any questions around details of past expenditures as it's been communicated in the budget committee communication? Easily, it's accessible if the liaison asks for it.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
So that should happen. And so I think what probably, Vicky, to me, sounds like it needs to happen. So your plan is to have this, because Japan I don't know how many people need to go to Japan. I don't know any of this and you would know better than I. How many training judges, are they participating in a show, all of the detail. So question 1 is this planned before the end of this fiscal year, which would be the April 30th, 2025?
Yes, it's a
Okay.
spring
Okay.
within this show season.
Okay, so then there needs to be a deeper dive on the budget request and the spend in October and the anticipated spend in Japan. Because in the event it exceeds the budget, it needs to get reapproved, the incremental expenditure by the board at the December board meeting.
Understood.
Okay?
Okay,
And I've
thank
got
you.
all that in my budget committee report in painfully granular detail. So you'll have that, and everyone so this time it would be Howard.
Howard
have
or
that.
Russell?
Or whoever it is, Russell.
Well,
So-
it's me.
Russell.
Okay, yeah, I think I heard Howard's name before.
Yeah,
But
that's my
anyway,
mistake.
Okay,
Ah.
but, and I am, we just want to get it planned and planned correctly from a financial perspective. That's, I'm not making a call one way or another. It's just to make sure that we have the dollars correct.
I appreciate it. Coming from the financial services background, I attempted to do this before last year's budget and requested a detailed income and expense report, but I ended up with a 3-line P&L. So it was we were just guessing and putting in our budget, the previous year's budget, so we could meet the timeline. But I will request again the detailed reporting so that I can put this together and make sure that we are under our budget. I guess I think I was told off the cuff that our budget this year was the same as last year.
Yeah, and but that's kind of almost, because that, I think that might have been what the request was from the, but we just need to, and if you and Russell would like to set up a time with me to do a deep dive, I'd be more than happy to do that. Let's try to get that done before November 1st.
Yeah,
Okay.
our goal for the Japan show would be to use the judges that are judging for the Japan show. Their airfares would then be taken care of by the club. The additional hotel stay days would be a cost, and also the room rentals. But whoever is judging the show and the regional director, Aki Tamura, who the request came in from, would be involved in putting on the BAOS there.
That sounds great. I just need to get that translated into dollars.
Yep, I appreciate it.
Okay.
Vicky, hang on a second. Aki?
Yes, yeah. Vicky just told everybody. I ordered to come to Japan for doing BAOS, and then we can hold it in Japan region for the cost for the judges came in. So please, yeah, think about this. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Vicky, continue.
I'm not sure where I was.
Um,
I think we were on continuing education.
yeah, you were just finishing up the guest judging.
So on continuing education, the next section, we've kind of changed the direction of what the judges workshop is. We are doing more varied curriculum and doing the breed presentations through Zoom. Judges are then able to get a few more continuing education unit credits. And I think it's been very well received, the topics that we are using for the continuing education presentations. Again, the judges need to obtain 12 continuing education credits every 5 years. The big hit is going to be 2026 when the majority of our judges come due, and they've been reminded of this, and we'll start putting out more reminders so that they take advantage of any opportunity via Zoom to meet their requirements. And I think that's it.
Okay, does anybody have any questions for Vicky? Okay, Vicky, thank you very much. Okay, Eileen, take us through central office.
My report's very short, just an update on show scoring staffing. So unless anybody has any questions, I have no board action items and I'm done.
Anybody have any questions for Eileen? Eileen, no questions? Kathy, you have the next two, treasurer's report and budget.
I do. Okay. So I'm very sure that all of you have read and digested the report. As you can see, from a high level, and even so at a granular level, registrations continue to decline relative to the same period prior year. And this report covers just first 2 months, May and June, but it's below prior year, and it is also below, I wish it were above below our budgeted number. I'm not gonna drain the slide, but this is obvious and this needs to be addressed. There are some highlights of other key indicators that in their performance. But our biggest issue is around registration. I also mentioned in the report that Central's office compensation is 10% over budget, and this must be addressed. In order to pick up where we left off and continue our strategic planning, a session is being planned for October 16th via Zoom. This would be the second day of the October board meeting that follows the international show. So on that October 16th, we will have a strategic planning session. We will be following up on any members that had volunteered to work on specific elements on our last session. And given the fact that we have quite a few new board members on this board, we will be going through and making new assignments. I ask that anyone on the board or otherwise that may have some ideas, thoughts, anything that you think that we should be aware of to talk about in this strategic planning session, bring this to our attention, let's say particularly to my attention, because I will be developing the agenda for this event. And we are open to thoughts and ideas. And we need to just take this seriously. I think I've already asked Rich if we could start the session, the October 16th board meeting session earlier, so that we don't end up in a position that we run out of time for the strategic planning session, although it will be via Zoom. So if it runs a little late, it just does. This is important. This is critical. So we need all hands on deck.
Does anybody have any questions for Kathy? No questions, Kathy, continue.
Okay, so now we have the budget committee report. This is basically your calendar and timeline for the dates when things will occur, the dates when reports can be had, the dates when budget requests need to come in for 25-26, the dates that any adjustments to budget need to come in for 24-25, which I alluded to for Vicky in the prior report review. So the dates are here. They need to be adhered to. When we need reports in January from board liaisons, not necessarily the committee chairs, all of this data comes into the budget committee through the liaison. I cannot emphasize this enough. This is the responsibility of the liaison, because primarily there are a lot of committees, and those budgets during the budget review session and approval process, if needed to be defended, will have to be defended by the liaison. So the liaison needs to clearly and convincingly understand what their budget request is for their committees that they are liaisons to, why, when, and what the benefit and what the measurement of success will be. I think that's all.
Pam?
Kathy, that report is due what, 2 January, 1 January to you?
It's in the, it's.
I'm looking through a whole bunch of dates here.
It's there, Pam. What's your concern?
I'm trying to voice it, Kathy.
Okay.
My concern is I am programmed to read day, month, year. So I'm going through and looking at month, day, year. And I want to make sure that on the 2nd, it's the 2nd of January.
Yes,
Now.
January 2nd.
Got it. So then, I can't bring this up on my iPad or the, excuse me, on my iPhone. I want to make sure that I'm trying to get your budget committee Zoom meetings. Okay. As long as I know what to do for animal welfare, that's it. Thank you.
And we appreciate any budget request earlier than January 2nd. Doesn't have to be, the earlier the better. So any work that you want to do in advance is great.
Okay, Kathy,
Yes.
anything further?
No.
Does anybody have any additional questions for Kathy? Okay, Kathy, thank you. Aline, can you promote Mark Hannon?
He's already in.
Hi, Mark.
Hi, Rich.
Welcome to the meeting and please
Thank
do
you.
your marketing report.
Yes, I submitted a written report, which I assume everybody's read, so I'm available for any questions you might have.
Does anybody have any questions for Mark? Who said
Kathy's trying to get her hand up.
Okay, go ahead, Kathy.
Okay, so, and Mark, I'm looking through here. I believe you mentioned at the end that you believe the companion cat world can be a source of increased registrations, and we plan to explore that in the coming year. So my question is, I think that this is very important to be part of the strategic plan that will happen that I just talked about it. Hopefully you were in and you could hear that on October 16th. Are you going to be prepared to bring any sort of thoughts, recommendations, dates, how, when, wheres that led you to this comment?
No,
Can you?
no.
Because this is important. If we, and are there any barriers that we can help you with?
We've got a lot on our plate right now. We're trying to get through some of that stuff. We're talking about later in the year, January to April. We're hoping to maybe pull together a task force to bounce around some ideas. We certainly would welcome any input from the board at their October strategic planning session. If they have any input they want to give us for direction or considerations.
So when you say we plan to explore that in the coming year, you mean before the end of this fiscal year?
We plan to start the process before the end of the fiscal year.
With in terms of a committee or task force or whatever you want to call it.
Right. We're probably not going to have anything concrete for you to act on, but we need to get the ball rolling.
Okay, Pam?
Mark, does publicity come under this committee?
Does what?
Publicity.
In what sense?
In what sense is to capitalize on such things as a person with a pedigreed cat on a Time magazine cover, and to possibly recognize that person, saying thank you for your support of pedigreed cats or something like that.
Sure, we can handle
A
that.
worldwide color. Different things that brings CFA out into the open to capitalize on CFA and increase public awareness.
Yeah, we'll be happy to do that and put some stuff out on social media, acknowledging it and thanking them. I'm glad you brought it up. Thank you for bringing it to our attention.
You're welcome.
Does anybody else have any questions or comments for Mark? Mark, you don't need anything from the board right now?
No,
Okay, thank you, Mark.
thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Okay, new exhibitor committee report, Janet?
Okay, yeah, I've provided a report. I can just summarize it briefly if you'd like. We've rolled out the program nationwide. The goal of the program is very simple. We want to make each and every new exhibitor feel welcome at every event, get them the help they need, and then we're going to follow up with them after the show. And all of those steps are in place to make those things happen. I do need to know who to work with on the website because there are several issues that we found on the website. And then I also just want to add that I have ideas on how to increase companion cat registration. So I could definitely provide some input there.
Okay, so Janet, you'll want to present that to Kathy for the October strategic planning session, so we can definitely include that.
Okay.
And Aline, do you want Janet to come to you directly with any updates needed on the website, or who do you want her to go to?
She can go directly to Teresa Kiger. Teresa Kiger has updated the new exhibitor website. That's what you're referring to, Janet? Those specific
Well,
pages?
the CFA website and how it, if I was a new exhibitor and I was trying to find it, I would never find it. So I've got some ideas on where we might be able to improve that a little
Oh,
bit.
okay. Then go ahead and come to me with those. That'd be
Okay.
And then Aline, you're gonna bring it back to the committee that's working on the website?
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely.
Okay. Pam?
Janet, you said implemented in all 7 regions. I'm sure Aki Tamura and myself would be interested in possibly being part of your committee in seeing how we can also use this in our regions.
Okay.
We're looking at, of course, we will need money to put things out in different languages. But I would hope that you would include regions 8 and 9 into all regions.
Yeah, I think the plan was, we talked about that early on of rolling this out beyond that, but I wanted to just get it up and running and everything functioning before we moved that step, but I'd be happy to add you to the committee and show you everything that we're doing.
Okay, Kathy?
Okay, so, 2 things. There was some mention about that Janet should reach out to Aline regarding, things on the website that may be, I don't know, difficult to find or whatever. Which just brought to mind, and it's loosely connected, but not, so I don't know where else to bring it up, so I'll bring it up and try to be brief. Is there any plan for for us to have any sort of feedback, survey, anything from our constituents about the new website?
Can we do that under new business?
We can do it whenever you want.
Yeah, let's do it under new business, so.
Let's go.
Okay. Then my second one was about broadening this new exhibitor program to areas that don't speak English, and the money that's necessary to do so. It's got to be in the form of a budget request to do so. So here again, I'm just going back to the process, because we need to balance these things. And I know people will say that you have to spend money to make money, but you also need to not to spend more than you make. So they kind of have to be balanced. But at any rate, if you want to do this and do this in other countries, and that includes cost for translations and those sorts of things, we need to be prepared to talk about that in the budget process with a request in January.
Okay, any further questions or comments for Janet? Janet, do you have any additional comments?
No, I don't.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Aline, is Ginger Meeker going to do the preservation breeding, or is Howard?
I am.
Okay, Howard, go ahead.
Okay, this is, I think, a very important committee working on preserving the breeds that we've been breeding for years, and now we find many of the breeders gone or the gene pool deletion as less and less cats are around. The committee was formation was completed. First meeting is August 8th using a Zoom. The mission, developing mission statements, policies, procedures to be aligned with the rules and regulations of CFA to be ratified by the board of directors. Future projects for the committee would continue to develop the concept of preservation breeding using multifaceted approach to include education, training practices, and procedures in alignment with current scientific data and research. No action items right now. I think it's one of the biggest things we need to be looking at some of these breeds is that we have to see the future of them because there's less and less cats, less and less breeders. So I think it's a very important committee that we'll be needing to hear more from later.
Kathy?
Oh, sorry, that was leftover.
Okay.
I'll take my hand down.
Howard, I have a question.
Yes.
Will your committee be developing the mission statement, policies and procedures in time for the October board meeting?
I would imagine because the first meeting's the 8th, so we haven't met yet.
Okay, very good.
So,
All right, do you have anything further, Howard?
no.
Does anybody have any questions for Howard? Okay, thank you, Howard. Okay, Aline, is Charlene going to join or is Pam going to do this?
I don't see Charlene in the audience.
Okay, Pam.
Pam does it.
Okay, Pam.
We have added to the Breeder Code of Ethics to add a health certificate and microchipping to the Breeder Code of Ethics. I have brought up several times reference microchipping, and this is something that we have been trying to support our breeders to do, especially in excuse me, where we have problems with disasters. Animals get lost, animals are stolen, animals are taken by civil process seizures. In many different ways, we need to be able to identify our cats. We've had problems with protests, excuse me, because we cannot identify the cats. In Europe, basically, this is mandatory to have microchipped. I have my litter was microchipped at 9 weeks. However, we feel this is a very important step for CFA to get behind and further promote microchipping. For the health certificate, animal welfare is getting an inordinate amount of sick kitten complaints. And we feel that if the kitten is checked by a veterinarian prior to going to a new home, this might cut down on a whole bunch of them. We're looking at funding for grants because there are some that are available. And we have always need for the breeder assistance program, any kind of donations. Not only are we continuing donations in Ukraine for both the Dovakit and our Ukrainian breeders, but we also have several catteries that are downsized and taking care of anywhere from 15 to 60 cats from a cattery. the money goes. And as we reported in the last board meeting, basically we're looking at a budget of $250 per cat, usually on vet costs of what we can put out per cat. And also to reiterate, we are formed only to help CFA cats. So you have the Breeder Code of Ethics that was attached to the report. And it's for board review comments.
Okay, Carissa?
So I was looking over this addition to the Breeder Code of Ethics, and I have some real big concerns. First of all, it is a financial burden on the breeders who already are clearly feeling the pinch. We see that in declining entries, declining registrations. I see absolutely no reason to add this to the Breeder Code of Ethics just to make it easier for animal welfare in case of a seizure or a protest. That's not a justified reason to increase the financial burden on our breeders. Additionally, getting health certificates, most of us know that health certificates are not indicative of a cat's health. I've seen many conflicts on social media where the cat had a health certificate, but it was sick anyways. And and additionally, since COVID, it takes anywhere from 2 to 4 weeks to get into a vet. And I'm not waiting 2 to 4 weeks to sell my pet kittens when I need to sell them. Some of us still sometimes take pet kittens to sell at shows. We don't know if they're going to sell there or not. Some of us don't like having strangers in our homes. And so that's the only place we can sell our pet kittens. And I think putting these two items in the Breeder Code of Ethics is only opening up CFA for even more litigation and more protests, because people are going to protest against that people have violated the Breeder Code of Ethics because they didn't microchip their kitten. There are certain breeds where a microchip is an issue. I understand that dogs are microchipped all the time. I understand that in Europe things are different, but CFA is not just in Europe, it's also elsewhere. And we microchip our dogs. I'm fine with dogs being microchipped because dogs have a habit of running away. Most of our cats usually don't run away. I believe whether or not breeders microchip their cats should be up to the breeder and never enforced by CFA that is just here to register cats. They are not here to force breeders to adhere to standards that certain people have come up with. Thanks.
Carol?
Yes, Carissa already said a lot of what I had planned to say. I have a real problem with the microchip being included in the Breeder Code of Ethics, mainly because just by the inclusion of it, it implies that a breeder that does not microchip is a non-ethical breeder. I think that it should be an optional choice if people want to microchip their kittens or cats. And by including this in a Breeder Code of Ethics, we are moving toward it being a requirement. I did a little bit of an informal poll with some breeders that I know. None of them microchip their cats. These are breeders in the US, by the way. I know that in Europe it's different, but not here in the US. It's not a common practice. Perhaps it will be some years from now, but at the present time, I don't think we are ready to include this in the Code of Ethics. I also feel that if we do lean in this direction, instead of encouraging more registrations, we're going to lose registrations. So that is a big concern of mine.
Pam, I'm going to call on everybody first and then let you address all the questions at the end, okay?
Got it.
Hey, Janet?
Okay, I concur 100% with what Carissa and Carol said. I don't microchip my kittens. I don't feel that it's a registry's responsibility to mandate those kinds of things. I think a registry can, via our breed councils, educate and recommend. and inform people what's the value of doing these things. And by that means, increase participation in these programs, but requiring and mandating is hugely problematic to me. That would cost me probably $100 extra per kitten. And at a time when that's just not feasible. So that's all I've got.
Hey, does
Thank you.
anybody else have any additional questions or comments for Pam? Hey, Pam, go ahead.
I just wanted to inform the board of things that have happened in the past. We had a breed council secretary out in the West Coast who had cats in for breeding. And excuse me, this is a person that caught up in a civil process seizure where they took over 200 cats. Of the cats that were taken and could be placed or whatever, only one was able to get back to the owner because it was microchipped, because it could be identified. We have disasters, and I'm sure that Kenny's been putting up with one recently, where we were able to get cats back to their owners because they were microchipped. Europe's not the only place that requires microchipping. And if we want our exhibitors to be able to move around in Southeast Asia and in China and Hong Kong, and the Animal Foundation in Hong Kong is very, very stringent, they have to be identified by microchip. I have talked with Dr. Roger Brown, head of the Scientific Advisory Committee, and he's also in total agreement about the microchipping. Now, maybe this is not the time to put this into CFA, but CFA needs to really look at making sure our cats can be identified. And as I said on the protests, we've had protests where somebody said, well, this cat was not a straight-eared Scottish Fold. It was actually a British, or it's straight-eared Scottish Fold was shown as a British. We can't prove anything on those protests because we can't identify the cats. Because there's no marking, and tattooing is now out. I haven't seen a cat with an ear tattoo in ages. But this is a serious discussion, and it doesn't cost $100 per cat. The Breeder Code of Ethics is something that I feel is very important for this organization. And it's one thing that we were able to put into practice. And one of the things that took us out of the target area of several of the animal rights groups. And if you saw recently, HSUS just put out something on the puppy mill legislation that's going on. We used to get attacked all the time by HSUS on oh God, we're horrible cat breeders. We no longer do, because we have addressed several problems. And I believe that microchipping is something that we definitely need to address, not in the future, but we need to address it now. That's it.
Okay, so Pam, the action was update the CFA Breeder Code of Ethics attached with logo. I think some of the board members shared their thoughts and recommendations. Do you have a motion for the board for tonight, or are you going to come back with some updates based on the information that was provided?
I will be coming back. I'll take this back to Charlene and coming back to the board with what we were proposing. Okay.
Okay, very good. Hey, Pam, thank you. And thank Charlene for me too. Um. Okay, moving on to genetics, Mara Lee. Mara Lee, before you continue, I don't want you to read through the whole report. You can do a quick summary and ask for questions if there are any, because you do not have an action item. Go ahead, Mara Lee.
Correct. So if anyone has questions, I'm happy to answer them. You know, you can see what we've been doing here. We have another Zoom meeting in a couple of days. You know, even reading over these compiled reports, I want to make sure that these two new committees, like the breed preservation committee and the genetics committee with the breed improvement committee, I want to make sure we don't duplicate things. So just even since these reports came out, you know, it's something we're going to have to touch base with each other so that we can figure out exactly the scope of what we're doing and that we're not duplicating things. But if anyone has any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Kathy?
Yeah, it sounded a little bit to me about that it might be some duplication. I see that there's a new committee, breed improvement committee chaired by Melanie Morgan. Was that ratified by the board?
It's a subcommittee.
Does it have to be ratified by the board?
I don't believe subcommittees need to be ratified by the board. Committees are free to bring who they want.
Okay, because I was a bit confused because it said a subcommittee and then it said this is chaired by Melanie Morgan. So I just wanted to make sure that we didn't get into a position where there was an issue just because it wasn't ratified.
I think how this is set up is, and Marilee, correct me if I'm wrong, Melanie is the subcommittee chair of this, correct?
Yes, subcommittee chair.
Yeah, okay. Very good. Does anybody else have any additional questions or comments? Marilee, thanks for bringing that to the attention on the duplication of efforts between the two committees and the one subcommittee. It'd be helpful if all three can work together on this.
Sounds good. Thanks.
Okay, thank you, Marilee. Report of special committees, Region 3, Diamond State, Carissa.
Thank you. So this is a show conflict, I guess, that came up through the show scheduling committee. I'm not going to read the whole report. It just basically, we have a club that is requesting a date. There are two clubs who have expressed concerns. Arkansas Feline Fanciers and Houston Cat Club, as you can see what their concerns are. The only thing I have to add to this report was some information I received after I submitted it. I did ask Diamond State Cat Club how far their potential show location would be from the show location of the other club in Little Rock. And it's approximately 28 miles. So it's still in the greater Little Rock area, but it is 28 miles away from the fairgrounds that Arkansas Feline Fanciers uses. I forgot to add my action item in here or the board request, but I would like to request that the board approve the show date for Diamond State Cat Club for a one-time only date on the third weekend of January in the greater Little Rock area of Arkansas. I'll take your questions.
Do I have a second? Rachel?
Olabar will second.
Rachel, you had your hand up. Are you seconding?
I am, thank you.
Okay. All right. I'm going to go back to John Kalila because he had his hand up.
I had it up by accident. Sorry, sir.
Okay. Carissa, are there any other shows within 500 miles of this show request?
On this particular weekend?
Yes.
No, the nearest show I believe is 865 miles away.
Okay.
On that weekend.
Okay. Does anybody have any other questions or comments for Carissa on the motion? Are there any, Kenny?
When is the Arkansas, I mean, that show, the other show that the Little Rock show, when does that occur?
It occurs on the third weekend of February, so it is exactly 1 month if you go by weeks. It's 1 month after the proposed Diamond State date. The Diamond State date, again, is asking for the third weekend of January, and the Arkansas Feline Fanciers has a traditional date on the third weekend of February.
And it's 1 week after the Houston show.
The proposed Diamond State show, yes, is 1 week after the Houston Cat Club show.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you for clarifying that, Carissa. Any other questions? Are there any objections to the motion? Seeing no objection, motion passes unanimously. Carissa, do you have anything else?
No, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Next item on the agenda is the committee members confidentially and code of ethics. Kathy?
Okay, I just want to know if anybody wanted to abstain on the motion to just close,
On the
Do the
motion that just
conflict.
closed?
that you just didn't ask for if anyone abstained.
Well, I asked for objections. Nobody raised their hand. Were there abstentions for the?
I abstained for cause.
Oh, you're gonna abstain for cause? Okay, is there any other abstentions for cause?
I abstain.
I can.
Okay, so the abstentions are true conflict, correct, Kathy?
Yes,
Russell, is your abstention a true conflict?
No, I was gonna vote no against this.
Are we talking about the Carissa's motion?
Yes.
Okay, then we have to go back to it. Ed? Procedurally, what do we need to do?
Just redo the vote.
Okay, then we're gonna redo the vote. Russell, lower your hand. Okay, is there any further discussion on Rachel? Is there any, do you have a comment, Rachel?
Sorry, I'm voting. I'm trying to vote
Okay.
and, oh, yeah.
Okay,
Record the
all
vote.
those in favor, raise your hand.
In favor of passing it?
Are in favor of Carissa's motion to allow Diamond State to have the third weekend in January. I got Rachel, Pam, Carol, Vicky, John, Dorianne, Marilee, Holly, Carissa, Aki. Lower your hand. If you're opposed, raise your hand. Howard and Russell. Lower your hand. Russ, okay.
There we go.
If you're an abstention, raise your hand. Kathy and Kenny. Lower your hand. Okay, Rachel.
I did not get a vote from Janet.
Janet. State if you're opposed, if you're in favor, opposed, or an abstention with conflict.
Did we lose Janet?
Well, I see her on the screen.
I'm trying to find my little box and unmute, and it wasn't cooperating with me. I'm in favor.
Okay, thank you.
That's 11 yes, 2 no, 2 abstentions.
Okay, motion passes. Okay, just to try to keep things moving along when we do the voting, when I call for objections, that's the time to raise a hand if you have an abstention or you are going to vote against it, because then I'll call for the vote and then we can avoid doing a revote. Kathy, thanks for bringing that up. Okay, Kathy, you're up next because we're going to go on to the committee members' confidentiality and code of ethics.
Okay, so thank you, Rich and Ed, for composing and editing the documents that are attached. The request only now is we're soliciting feedback no later than September 5th. So we're asking the committee chairs and the committee chair liaisons to socialize this with your teams, and if folks have concerns, to let us know. And we will make adjustments, or at least bring it into in the conversation in October. That's it.
Okay, we do not need to review your recommendations for Kathy, but if you have any questions and you want to bring them up right now, you can. Does anybody have any questions? Okay, Kathy, no questions, so hopefully you're going to be able to present this for the October board meeting as a motion, correct?
Yes,
Okay, great. Do you have anything else, Kathy?
I do not.
Okay, next is move on to unfinished business and general orders, other committees. Rachel, do we have any unfinished business?
I do not have any unfinished business, or, sorry, I'm scrolling through this confidentiality agreement. No other committees,
Okay,
no new business, no
think-
old
I
business.
think we have Kathy's new business, the website. She brought up something about the website earlier in a discussion that I suggested we move into new business only because it didn't pertain to the topic we were on.
Okay, we'll add it there to agenda item 17.
Okay. Oh, Kathy, you got your hand up. Go ahead.
It was just for that.
It was
You want
what?
me to, it was just that would be an item in new business. Do you want me to go ahead and
Yeah, go ahead and present
discuss?
what
Okay.
you,
My only question is because, the new CFA website was quite an endeavor of lots of puts and takes. And I wondered if at some point, and probably sooner than later, that it might be considered to do some sort of survey or get some sort of feedback from our constituents that actually use this each and every day. About perhaps, the ability to find things, whatever they may have concerns or accolades or, attaboys or whatever to get that feedback.
okay, Rachel?
Thank you. I think that's a fantastic idea, Kathy. And the timing is favorable. The initial rollout, it took a bit of a learning curve. And I think a lot of people that use the website frequently have resolved the issues, and they can better answer that today than they may have immediately after we released it. So I think your timing is bringing it up is great, and I would be fully supportive of seconding a motion should you choose to make one.
Kathy, are you making a motion?
I am making a motion that
Okay,
that CFA prepare and distribute a survey relative to the new CFA website to our constituents. And we probably need to establish how we do that. Maybe it could actually be on the site itself, but that we move forward with that effort.
and Rachel, you just second that, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, further discussion? Anybody have any questions? I have a question for Aline. Aline, between the marketing committee and James and yourself, will you be able to put this survey together and make it available?
Yes, it would be helpful if we get some input from what type of questions you'd like to see on the survey. I think that a lot of the comments that we've had about the survey have been addressed. It's still a work in progress. It probably always will be, but I'll be happy to talk with the marketing committee about the survey.
So there's 55 participants as of 9:15 p.m. Eastern time. You just requested some questions from the group. When would you like those questions by? Within a week?
I want to say by the end of next week. So what is that,
Okay.
the 18th?
That is Sunday, August 18th.
Yes.
And then you and your team will have it available by when? I don't want the board to approve something and it sits out there and it sits
Yeah.
out there.
You
So,
know, as Mark pointed out, the marketing committee really has their hands full. I mean, we're full focus on the international. We're working on a variety of things that have been placed in front of us. So I just, without talking with the committee, I can't make a commitment to a time. I'd like to say within, let's see, what is this? By the end of August, I just can't commit to it because it involves other people, their time. It's just a really busy time.
okay. Ollie?
Should we include a survey for the ECAS at the same time? Because the ECAT is a new thing. We might want to have feedback about that too.
I do have a comment, and I think feedback is great, but when we get feedback, it implies that we are going to make changes. And sometimes those changes aren't possible due to expense often. So I just want to be sure that it's known that we can get the feedback, we can get the results, and then we can review it. But it doesn't mean we're going to be able to do everything that the survey respondents ask us to do.
Yeah, that's a valid point, and I don't disagree with that position. However, I think it is important now that the website is out, has been out. It's a good opportunity while it's fresh in everybody's mind that we get some feedback. As far as the ECAT, I'm okay if we want to take up that in a separate motion, but let's get through the website situation first. I believe the website is for all our audiences, not just the CFA exhibitor. It's for potential. So I want to get through that first. Kathy?
How about we include with the motion a deadline for distribution or a date for distribution? At least it gives a starting point. And if the marketing committee comes back and they say, or whoever Aline has to discuss this with, beyond marketing, that this is a no-go, then we can review it, but at least it gives us a starting point.
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
Be very, very in complete consideration of the international show coming up. I would say if we could, you solicit feedback and receive feedback be received to marketing as in the way of questions by, I think there was the 18th out there. I think I actually I would be more than happy with August 30th.
Why don't you just take it to the end of the month, August 31st?
Yeah, that would be fine.
Okay.
August 31st. And that the survey be distributed by, I'm looking at a calendar, give me a minute.
September 2nd, make it a Monday.
September, is that a holiday?
Oh, yeah, it is. September 3rd, September 4th.
Well, let's say if you're going to get questions though, if you're going to go get questions on the 30th first, you're not going to do this by the 3rd. So let's say the 20th, or no, let's say a Monday, the 23rd of September.
Okay, she just gave you more time, Aline.
I did.
know.
Yep.
And I have a question.
Go ahead, Aline.
Does the board want to see the survey before we before we disseminate it?
Kathy?
I don't see where it would do any. I would be more than happy to help with the questions and review the questions before we go to the board. But yeah, I have no. I think probably, we've got very seasoned people and people that also are subscribers and users of the website. And yeah, I think, you know, you may issue it to the board, let's say, oh, where were we, the 23rd? Issue something to the board by the 13th of September with a deadline of the 20th. I don't anticipate it will be a complete rework, but if it is, then we can adjust.
Okay, just a reminder to all the board members, if this comes to the board by online motion for approval, it needs 100% support. So it could get delayed to the October board meeting. Any further?
Wait, no, maybe I misunderstood. I thought we vote on it tonight with these deadlines.
Yes,
Goes to the board for just review of the questions. If you have any puts and takes, this is not an
Yeah.
approval. It's already approved, puts and takes on the
Okay.
questions. And you need to get back by the end of the week with those, with your feedback.
okay, I'm fine with that.
That's what I was thinking.
Okay, good, okay. All right, any further discussion? Kathy, lower your hand.
Oh, sorry.
All right, are there any objections to the motion? Okay, seeing no objection, that motion passes unanimously. Okay, Paulie, you had mentioned something about the ECATs. Do you want to discuss that now?
No, it's no need.
Okay. Rachel, I'm back to you. Do we have any old business that we need to tend to?
I have no notes under old business.
Okay. Let me see what I have here. All right. Seeing there is no other business at this time, thank you all for attending. Thank you, everyone. Meeting is adjourned.